What up, players? Warboss Tay up in this mood, and I know what you're thinking. Oh, awesome! It's the Averland paint scheme. But actually, you know what? Before we even get into the Averland guy, we gotta paint this horse, man, because a lot of you might not be doing an Averland color scheme for your Outriders or Pistoliers, but you might want to be doing like an Altdorf Pistolier or a Middenheim Outrider. So, for those who just want to paint the horses, I'm going to show you my Warboss Tay painting technique to get your horse this dark brown color. Now, there's a different color scheme if you want to go for a gray horse or like a mottled horse or you know, a different kind of look. But for ours, for this one, we're just going to do this dark brown mahogany color, or not really mahogany, but like dark brown. And I'm going to show you how to do it right now. These are the colors you need. Because I chose Averland for the blanket, I'm going to use Iyanden Darksun, Bubonic Brown, and Gryphonne Sepia. Now for you cool kids out there who've already gotten the new paint set, or whatever you could of the new paint set, you could use Cassandora Yellow as the shade, because it says shade right there. And hey, instead of using that stupid old Iyanden Darksun, why not base in some Averland Sunset? Ugh. Anyways, Bleached Bone for the pistol grips on the horse, the pistols, if you're going to be using these. If not, then you can just skip the Bleached Bone. No worries. Dheneb Stone, because horses got to have teeth. The main skin color is Calthan Brown, good old Calthan Brown. I'll never replace you. Or will I? Chainmail. Chaos Black for all of the straps, the saddle, everything like that. Khemri Brown for the horse hair. And Badab Black to tie everything together. So, let's get this distracting wire out of the way. We're going to begin first with Calthan Brown. You're going to use your wet palette, because Calthan Brown, like I said in the wet palette video, is a stubborn old color. It just loves to not do what you want it to and get clumpy and be very disagreeable. I'm sure we all know somebody out there like that. Why are you looking at me, Warboss Tay? Well, Lewis, you haven't been around very much lately. Of course not. I've been hitting the town with my beautiful high elf girlfriend. Well, good for you. Next, what we're going to, you want to make sure that when you're painting the skin, my neighbors are crazy and they're yelling really loud. You want to get a smooth, even, easy coverage. Oh, this cough. Whew. Making my horse fall down. Sorry about that, folks. Basically, I hit all the angles, and don't worry about making mistakes, because it's the first step, and you know, we just want to get all the paint on. I find that with these two Warboss tutorials, these painting tutorials, the first videos are always like so boring, and I'm like, you know what, maybe I just gotta get through the base coats faster, because everybody is just like, everybody must be so bored watching all this like base coating. Like, the real fun comes when you get into the details, the nitty gritty. This Calthan Brown has had it. Oh, it's all on the edge of my brush. It's like the blob. Yeah, so if you hadn't noticed from watching my like super short, well, at least comparatively to all these new tutorials, how to make a wet palette, get a wet palette video, I have new Empire stuff. And obviously, new paints. Not a lot, I mean, I do like to live in a house, and if I spent all my money on little plastic men and paint, then I would not be in a house anymore. And also my girlfriend would kill me. Do you have a high elf girlfriend too? No, Lewis. Because they're the best. They're all clean and pretty. Lewis, how is it that you got a high elf to go out with you and be your girlfriend? How is that even possible? How did I thought? Whoa, it's not that hard. You see, I've got this thing, Warboss Tay. You might have heard of it. It's called game. Alright, just be quiet. You are just here to provide comic relief. You don't have to insult me. There, now our Horsie is all painted up. We are going to start painting the hair on our Horsie's head. Is going to be Dheneb, no, not Dheneb, Khemri brown. Yeah, so stay tuned because I'm going to be doing a Warboss Tay review on, good lord, that's too much water, on select paints from the various new ranges. I picked up a bunch of paints, but only a couple of each thing. You know, the shades, I think I got a glaze, one of the new bases, or the new foundation, what they're calling the new base range. They're not calling it foundations anymore. So stay tuned for all of that. Oh, you also want to get the tail. The tail is a big part of Khemri Brown. So it's the horse's mane and the tail are the pieces that you really want to go for the hair. And if you get like too much or whatever, then just let it dry. You can come back and fix it with Calthan brown later. But for now, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep moving because we're trying to work efficiently. Got a good Warboss Tay standard, but still be efficient. That means I'm probably going to have to change my brush. Here we go. We're going to use, at this point, we're going to use Chaos Black. Oh, I forgot to mention one color. The horse's hooves are actually going to be Charadon Granite. And look at these stupid pot leaked all over the place. Spilled my Charadon Granite. So mad. The other night, I was so tired. I was painting up my my test model for the Averland color scheme, and I was so tired, like I doze off. And I wake up, like when I open my eyes, lo and behold, I see my Charadon Granite and my Dwarf Bronze half empty, like on the floor. It wasn't actually on the floor, it was in a, I keep my paints in a box actually, and I saw them all over the place. And I was like, no. And I was like, Igor, why didn't you stop the paint from spilling? And he was like, sorry, master. I was playing Words with Friends. And I was like, Igor! That reference is not even topical anymore. Okay, we're gonna also go back to our Khemri brown. Let me shake it up a bit, it seems it was kind of watery at the top. And we're gonna paint any of, if you have a sword holstered, then paint the holster. We're also gonna be painting any pistol holsters you have decorated on your horse. Now, if you don't have any of this stuff, then hey, just don't worry about it. Forget about it. Okay, the video is gonna cut, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for this to dry, and then I'm gonna take my Chaos Black and I'm gonna paint in all of the straps. Now, this is the harness, the over here by his head, the reins, anything that is a strap, I am going to paint Chaos Black. Okay, and then when we come back, we'll come back when it's dry. I'll also fix some of these mistakes where the Khemri brown hair of the horse's mane got a little bit onto the skin. I'll fix all the mistakes. I'll also paint any of the straps black, and then we will continue with the painting tutorial on how to paint an Empire horse right after that. Okay, so as you can see, I painted up the straps. They're all black. The saddle, the reins, the harness around the head, everything is all Chaos Black. I missed a little piece. I also painted the pack that's hanging off of the back of the harness. It's got like some cannonballs and stuff inside for some reason. It's packing around cannonballs. Oh, unless those are, maybe those go for the Outrider champion who has the grenade launcher. I don't know. Shh. Anyways, we're also going to be painting in Khemri brown, I forgot to mention, the pack, the sleeping bag on the guy's back, on the horse's back. So, get some Khemri brown, put on my wet palette here, and then just spread it across as evenly as I can. Oh, sorry, let's get that in focus, please. Igor. Yes, monster. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. While that's drying, we're gonna start getting to work on the metallics. So in this next step, we're gonna be taking chainmail to do all the silvers. And for us, if you don't have these like swords and harnesses and holstered pistols, then the only silver parts really are the metal on the horse's harness on his head. There's a ring that the reins go into here by the mouth. There are a couple of metal clasps here on the side of the face. So both sides have this kind of silver metallic, one there, and then the ring right by the bit for the mouth. Okay, next we're going to be taking some chainmail and we're going to be painting the bottoms of the little holsters here. Both sides, so you can get at it. You can get both of them at whatever angle you're painting at really nicely. And also, we're going to be painting the metal at the top of the holster where the pistol is tucked in. both sides. Okay, and let's see, what else? Silver. The rest is on the guide. So, oops. If anything, the last thing we're going to be painting silver is for now anyways, the metal part of the gun that's tucked into the holster. So you can see right there, right we're at the handle, the base of the handle, or not the base, but the where the gun is sitting in the holster right there. So that's on the holsters. Now for the sword, there's that little silver part at the bottom. I'm sorry, I hate when I watch YouTube videos and you guys are coughing all over the place, but I just really wanted to film this video tonight because the Averland tutorial is so far behind. We're also going to be painting, there's no brass on this, so we're going to be painting the top of this little ball here. And for this, some of the swords have like a bandaged hilt, like a bandage look over the handle. So for those I use like Calthan brown. Let me show you what I mean on the other guy. You can see the difference between these two swords. This one is smooth, the handle is smooth, and this one, there's this, you know, kind of banded material around the handle. So, depending on what sword you have, you can either use Calthan brown for the handle, or for this, because it's just smooth metal, I'm just using chainmail. And we're painting all the way up, and that is going to do it for that. The next step we're going to do is we're going to take Dheneb stone and we are going to paint in the horse's teeth, which most of these horses have open mouths, so you'll be able to see their teeth really easily, but if your horse's mouth is closed, then you just keep the Dheneb stone on the side for now. You don't really need it at this point, but like this horse's looks like you can kind of tell where the horse's like top teeth are, and if he's got like bottom teeth poking out from the bottom. Sometimes the mold line is just really junk though. You're gonna have to paint in the details yourself. So here's kind of what I did. Okay, and what are we gonna do next? What do we gotta do next? Next, we're going to paint the hilt of the pistols. We're going to match them to the pistols that they're holding, but we're going to use Bleached Bone to get a very, very pale kind of wood grain effect, like a very pale kind of wood, very expensive looking, and we're just going to paint Bleached Bone all along the handle here. Bleached Bone is one of those tricky colors in the soon-to-be previous range that I find very hard to work with because it clumps really easily. If you don't move it around, it's just hard paint to work with if you don't have a base coat underneath. If it makes you feel a little bit more secure in using it, what you could do is use Dheneb stone because it's the closest to Bleached Bone as a foundation color. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. You could also use it on your ghetto palette first, but on your wet palette first. But I'm just going to paint some Dheneb stone over. It's going to look pretty thick and clumpy because the Bleached Bone is still wet, but I'm going to try and get the excess off as much as I can. Okay, do the same thing with this. It's going to be pretty much the same technique as when we're painting up the actual Pistolier, so if you're going to be following along with that tutorial, then you're going to get kind of a heads up. Okay, and the last thing we're gonna do this stage is paint the gold at the top of the hilt. So just take your favorite brown, because brown is a good color for the for the gold, and just paint it on the top. I'm using Khemri brown, but you could also use Calthan brown. You're also going to be doing this for the Pistolier, like I said. So picking up a good quick paint technique. There. We're going to let that dry, and then we're going to come back with shining gold. Or actually, could do shining gold, or you could do Dwarf Bronze. Oh, stupid dog. You could do shining gold or Dwarf Bronze. Either of them work. You want it's not even going to be your finished color anyways, but Dwarf Bronze also works as well, because you're going to be highlighting it up with burnished gold at the end to make it look like really shiny gold. So I'm just gonna hit it once with this Dwarf Bronze color, and it's gonna mix with the Khemri brown for sure, because the Khemri brown's not dry, but we're just gonna get a little bit of that metal pigment, this shiny metal pigment on. And then we're just gonna let this dry, and when we come back, we'll do it another little level of Dwarf Bronze before we before we hit everything with the wash. I'm also going to paint the straps on the naps, the sleeping bag, black now that it's dry. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to finish painting the bronze right up on the handles of the pistols, and this one's going to be a really short one because I'm still letting it dry, and I want to take some time to do the washes later, but just covering with Dwarf Bronze both sides. And then also I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I don't like these little extension things to the hoofs back here. You see this thing right there, so I'm going to snip that off. I don't really like them at all. I think they're just there for, you know, holding the model to the base. I don't like them. I should have taken them off sooner, but I don't like it, so I'm just gonna snap that off. And if there's one on the front, I'm gonna do the same thing with that, but I'm gonna clean it up and show you what it looks like. Yeah, like there's this really bad one on the front. Looks like it's hanging off the end, so I'm gonna cut that off the same way I did with the back, and it's just snipping here under the hoof and then here on the base. I'm gonna clean that up and clean up the colors, and then we'll get right back with the washes. Okay, while I was waiting for all of that to dry, I took some Chaos Black and painted in the Horsie's eyeballs. I also took some Bleached Bone and I painted in Bleached Bone, and like I said, I painted in the handles of both pistols, and I took some Dheneb stone and painted in, because this particular sword has a little parchment seal on it, a little purity seal. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna paint the blanket. Now, I would suggest painting it in whatever colors your guy happens to be. So we're gonna test out this new Averland Sunset from Games Workshop. See how it goes. If it's really as good as they say. So we're gonna paint it right on. I'm wiping some of it off on my Kleenex. Seems to be pretty good. I mean, yellow is such a hard color. This kind of looks like a mix between Iyanden Darksun and golden yellow. So maybe what I'm going to do is let this dry and do a second coat. If you do Iyanden Darksun, it's would probably only take one coat. You know what I'm gonna do? We'll finish this side, show you how it looks, and then I'm gonna take Iyanden Darksun to the other side. Let's see which one turns out better. After one coat. Yeah, this is kind of streaky. Kind of streaky icky. Still, it's a nice vibrant yellow. Whereas Iyanden Darksun is gonna end up a little bit more muted. These foundation paints, or I guess old foundation paints, are all a little bit more, or let's say less vibrant, because of the pigment, how thick they are, how thick the pigment is to make it spread so well onto the surface. Okay. It looks like the Iyanden Darksun is also kind of streaky this morning. I guess it's up to you which one you like better. Anyways, if you're painting outdoor, you could use red or blue. You know, Nordland, blue or yellow. Ausland is like black or white. So I would suggest looking at the different color schemes on your empire province, whichever one you want it to be from, and paint whichever one you think is the most vibrant color. Because we've got the black for the harness, the color should pop out really nicely. So I'm gonna let this dry for a while and then we'll come back in just a bit. Okay, the last thing we're gonna do in this part of the video is we're going to wash the horse. So we are going to need some of the new, we're gonna try out some of the new Citadel Shade Cassandora Yellow, see how that works. And we're also gonna be using good old Badab Black. Or for those of you who went out and bought the new Known Oil, I guess that's the equivalent. If you're not doing the colors of Averland and you don't have a yellow blanket for your Horsie, then you should probably use whatever color you would use to shade that color. So for red, all red, or I don't know what the new equivalent is. But Cassandora Yellow seems to do a very nice job of, it's almost like an orangish color. Kind of see like blazing orange being dulled down a whole lot. This works. You could also use Gryphonne Sepia, has worked for me in the past, or Ogren Flesh actually. Okay, and I'll make another review about what I think about the paints, then some of the new paints later, in a separate thing, so people can watch that without having to get, 20 minutes in this one. And just like usual, we're just going to take our Badab Black or your Known Oil and paint it all over. I want to mention that I haven't really been able to do the annotations. I've just been filming as much as I can, and then that's like all I've been able to do with my painting time. So this weekend hopefully I'll get some time to film or go back and do the annotations for all my recent videos. In the last one I did was for either the Imperial Guard or maybe the first couple of Ogre Iron Blaster videos. So you just want smooth, even coverage, and you, the great thing about these horse models is that, I don't know who sculpted them, but they have a lot of great great recesses for the shading. Yeah, they're really good. There's like good like muscle tone, muscle structure. It looks, you know, kind of realistic. You can see how much it's improved over the old horses that GW used to make, and the newest ones, the ones in the Island of Blood box set, those look even better, and those have like the full-on detailing for the, you know, the weapons and the barding on the horses. The armor they have is like, oh, so nice. When you get to these holstered pistols, try not to get the Badab black on the Bleached Bone area. If you can, try to keep that area as much Bleached Bone as possible, because we're going to actually use another shade color, Gryphonne Sepia, for that. I'm not really sure what the new equivalent of Gryphonne Sepia is. I think it's another Sepia, it's something Sepia. Yeah, I went to the hobby store and I was looking at all the paints and I was like, oh my gosh, 144 new paints. I was talking to the guy about, the store owner, and asking, are you gonna bring in any of the like super mega paint sets? And he was like, are you gonna buy it? And I said, no. And then he said, and don't ask, because, you know, nobody's going to use every single paint for whatever armory they're doing, and if anything, you're going to be using more than one of certain other paints like these washes. So that's really good business sense. It would be a nice gift, but even then, like for the like $500 or however much the new paint set is, it just seems crazy. Make sure you get your sword. And Gryphonne Sepia for the pistol handles. I'm going to take a little break now, let all this dry, and then come back and we will finish. We'll do the highlighting, highlight some things back up for the Horsie, and then we'll be done, and then we can get on to the Pistolier model. Okay, so in this last section of the video, we're going to do some highlighting, and you're going to need Bleached Bone and Calthan Brown. You're going to mix them up to about a 1-to-1 consistency, or not consistency, but a 1-to-1 mix, and you should get, if this is straight Calthan Brown, you should get something that looks a little bit paler. And you're basically going to, I'm going to show you what the finished bit looks like. You see how the lighter tone kind of is really prominent on in the lines, and then in these certain highlighted areas here, here on the face, on the hair, or the fur actually, by the hooves. So I'll show you how to do that. You just get a little bit on the end of your brush, and then you just do straight vertical up and down lines. See if you can, make sure you guys can see it. Maybe a little bit too much water. It's not a good brush. And what this is going to do is going to help pick out the lines, or pick out the highlights, and it's going to make it look really nice when, instead of just having the straight base coat and then wash, adding in the final step, the highlights, is really going to make your model stand out on the battlefield. So it might look kind of off-putting close up, but when you put them on the table, the highlights are going to show really nicely. So you just want to follow wherever you see the light naturally shining, which is what I'm kind of doing. I'm looking for where the light of my table lamp is hitting and creating some kind of a little bit of a highlight, and then I'm following that with the brush. Here on the horse's neck, make sure I got that in focus there. If you feel the highlights are too stark, and just go back over it with a little bit of a Badab black, and that should tone the color down very well. See how I'm just hitting the parts of the horse's face where the lights naturally hit and reflect. I think what I'm actually going to do is just paint this whole area in this highlighted color and then just tone it down later. Yeah, that's fine. That'll do fine. Just want to make sure you don't really see the paint, the stroke marks. If you can, keep just going over it with your brush. So it looks a little bit more garish than the horse's left side. So I'm trying to get this kind of color consistency to it. So we're just gonna let it wait for a little while. I'm gonna take some Badab black and just thin it down and then just wash it over this area to make the highlight tie into the base color. And then we should be done with that. We're also gonna be taking some, where's my Dheneb stone to make the parchment, and painting it over the seal hanging off of the saddle. And let that dry and come back to that in just a second. And I'm also going to be taking some Burnished Gold and painting this onto the pistol grips. If you don't have this with your horse or with your Pistolier, then you can just skip this section. Go. Anything else we're gonna do? Oh yeah, we're gonna build up the color again of the blanket. So use whatever your base color was. I'm just gonna stick with Averland Sunset. Especially if my videos, I continue to keep my channel going and Averland Sunset becomes the new norm for painting yellow. Years from now, when Iyanden and Darksun will be but a memory, then it'll be good. Yeah. Hey doggy. So, you know, after a couple of applications, after a couple of coats, Averland Sunset, this yellow color, it's okay. The streak effect kind of really only is there in the beginning. And if you're good at freehand, this is the point when you could freehand designs or, you know, whatever, what have you, all sorts of stuff into the actual surface of the fabric. Textures, designs. You could do like a tartan pattern, maybe. My doggy's snoring. And it'll look really nice. Okay, so there you go. That will do it, I believe. You can still highlight, if you want, you can highlight any of the other colors that you've already gone over. Looks like this might need a little bit of a Khemri brown touch up on the scabbard, but base coat, a wash, and some highlights is pretty much the way to go, I think. And with these horses, I think they look a lot better than the Knightly Order horses, which are I think they are just old and, you know, outdated. So they just need a new sculpt. I keep working on the scabbard. But there you have it, a completed Empire horse. I hope you enjoyed it. It's got like the highlights and everything, and really the only other thing to do is put a little bit of Badab black on the side of the neck. Water it down on your wet palette. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more. Look how nicely that ties everything together. Tones it down so the highlights don't look as prominent, and just makes it look really nice. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more as we focus on Empire. I'm Warboss Tay, and I approve this tutorial.